Welcome back everybody to the end of the year lists. If you are watching this video as it's uploaded and you have not already caught up, I've already dropped my top 5 worst, my top 5 best as far as the horror films of the year. I've dropped my top 10 worst movies overall of 2018, and now we are at probably my favorite video to do as far as end of the year list, top 10 most disappointing films of 2018. Now the reason this is probably my favorite to do is because this is the video that causes probably the most interesting discussion amongst me and the viewers. What makes a movie disappointing is probably way more subjective than what makes a movie good or bad in all of our eyes. And to clarify, this is not a list of movies that I think are bad. Some of them are. But for the most part, these are movies that I do think are good movies. The movies that I still enjoyed to varying levels. But these are movies that I walked in with a certain level of expectations and walked out with a certain level of enjoyment, and these are the movies that had the biggest gap between those two. So, just to clarify, these are not worst of. Some of the movies on here suck, but most of them are movies that I still like. They're just movies that did not meet my expectations. So, with all that being said, no honorable mentions. We're just going to get right into it. Number 10 for most disappointing films of 2018. For me personally, number 10 is Hereditary. Now, if you watched my top 5 best horror films of 2018, you saw Hereditary in the honorable mentions. Hereditary is one of the best horror films of the year. The reason why it is number 10, as in like the least disappointing film of 2018 for me, is because this movie was way overhyped for me personally before I walked into it. Unfortunately, I fed into a lot of the hype regarding the scariest film ever made, the scariest film since The Exorcist. This movie's gonna scare you to death. This movie never really scared me. There was a couple of scenes when it was chilling, and there was a couple of scenes when it was definitely a little bit hair-raising as far as the tone and everything, but the movie didn't scare me. And it was that disappointment of walking in with the wrong expectations for this film that really made it to where I walked out and I was like, that was not what I expected at all. Still enjoy the movie. I have problems with it, but it is a film that I've said numerous times. I think over the years, I'm gonna appreciate it more and more and more the more times that I watch it. So for all the amazing things that it did end up being one of the disappointing films of 2018 for me, so that is number 10. Number 9 for me is a film that I enjoyed quite a bit, but did not come anywhere near my expectations, and maybe that's unfair for me because I love the first one so goddamn much. Deadpool 2. Now, if you've watched my best of list for the past couple of years, there has been a Fox Marvel movie at number 1 for the past 2 years. Deadpool was 2 years ago. Logan was last year. I fucking love what Fox has been doing with their movies lately. And Deadpool was like, it's easily one of my top 5 comic book films of all time now. I love it. I love Ryan Reynolds. I love his humor. He fit that movie perfectly, that character perfectly. You get into Deadpool 2, and my expectations were not that it was going to meet Deadpool 2, but hopefully come close. And due to some drama regarding when I actually got to see the film that I'm not going to go into detail with, but also just the fact that the movie felt like it was retreading some of the same comedic territory, and I didn't really feel like the character of Cable was exactly what I wanted in this movie. Despite being a movie I still enjoyed, Deadpool 2 fell way short of what I expected it to. So not anywhere near as good as the first Deadpool to me. It probably still would wind up on my top 20 films of 2018, but didn't come anywhere near where I thought it would. I thought I would walk away and Deadpool 2 would be right back up at number 1 like the first one was, but didn't quite get there. So number 9 is Deadpool 2. Number 8 is a film that I had really no interest in because I hadn't heard a whole lot about it, and then suddenly I heard all these amazing things about it, decided to rent it, and was wildly disappointed. I put out a full review for it with all of my thoughts. That is The House That Jack Built. This is the Lars von Trier film that made all of the little controversy and all of the waves in the horror community this year. This was the film festival film that everybody couldn't stand to watch, and everybody was walking out shocked and passing out and all that shit that they always say. There's always one of those movies every year. Last year it was Raw. People were passing out in the fucking theater. Whatever. The House That Jack Built is a movie about a guy who is a serial killer. It shows you 5 different murders throughout his entire career being a serial killer, and it's woven together with a lot of very weird, metaphorical, trippy imagery and a lot of strange stuff. And it's all that strange stuff that really turned me off of this movie. I liked a lot of what was going on as far as the actual serial killer stuff. I liked Matt Dillon in the role. I think that the actual killing involving him and Riley Keough was one of the most chilling scenes that I've seen in a long time involving serial killers, but it's just all that weird Lars von Trier shit that just turned me off. It's just not for me. So this is a movie you're either gonna love or hate. Unfortunately, I wouldn't go as far to say I hated it. It's just a movie I'll never have the desire to watch again, and I would never recommend it to anybody unless I knew for a fact you were a Lars von Trier fanatic. So number 8 is The House That Jack Built. Number 7, which I have a lot of the same exact things to say regarding this that I did with The House That Jack Built, just to a slightly higher degree as far as being overhyped with it, which is why it's just one notch above it. Number 7 for me is Mandy. Mandy is a acid trip visual heavy metal music video starring crazy Nick Cage. Now, on paper, that sounds like a movie that's fucking made for me. But when I watched it, the first hour to this movie is so slow and so meandering and just long shots of nothing just to kind of show visuals. And that really kind of tested my patience. You get into the second half, and that's where all the payoff is, that's where all the killing is, all the weird shit. But it's a lot of the same thing with The House That Jack Built. It just feels like a movie that was not made for me. I appreciate the hell out of the cinematography, probably the best cinematography this year, if not definitely in the conversation. I love seeing Nicolas Cage when he's unhinged and he's actually in a good movie. He's making a damn good little indie comeback lately. I hope he gets more opportunities like Mandy. And there's certainly some entertainment value there with like the heavy metal music video horror style that they go for. It's just not a movie for me. It's very weird and trippy and very visual, and it's just not my kind of movie. If you saw my review for House That Jack Built, you've already known what my movie taste is. Mandy is kind of like that as well. Unfortunately, Mandy was hyped as like the best horror movie of the year by a lot of people that I actually really trust. So I expected even more from Mandy than I did from House That Jack Built. And I probably liked Mandy a little bit less than The House That Jack Built. So that's why it's number 7. This movie is either for you or not for you. Number 6 is the Cloverfield Paradox. I really like the Cloverfield films. I like the found footage style of the first one. I really liked 10 Cloverfield Lane. I couldn't wait to see what they were going to do next because I felt like they just kept getting better and better. And this movie came out of absolutely nowhere because they had this weird marketing strategy of let's just drop it on Netflix and we'll advertise that it's going to be on Netflix like 4 hours before it drops. It was like the Super Bowl and they said, hey, after the Super Bowl, this movie's going to be on Netflix. And I totally understand why. They gave no fucks to give as far as like the marketing, why it was dropped on Netflix and not in the theaters. It's because it's not a good film at all. It was just a weird, trippy sci-fi movie that felt like it was kind of hacked together to make it fit in the Cloverfield universe. It doesn't even really completely fit. It's like a square peg in a round hole. It tries to answer some questions and doesn't answer those very well. It doesn't answer all the questions that we've been wanting them to answer for the past 2 films. Did not enjoy this one at all. I barely remember anything about it aside from maybe a couple of visuals with the scenes of people getting stuck in walls and shit. I didn't enjoy this one at all. So Cloverfield Paradox, number 6. Number 5 is going to be The Nun. The Nun I had pretty high expectations for because of Annabelle Creation. Annabelle I don't think is as bad as a lot of people make it out to be, but it's certainly not a great film. I think that both of the Conjuring films are both damn good, and I really liked Annabelle Creation. I think it was like my 4th best horror film of last year. So The Nun, I figured with all this gothic epic horror imagery they were going for and the period piece stuff, a really scary character in Valak, there's no way they're gonna fuck this up. But they fucked it up. It's just a gigantic scare fest as far as jump scares. I've described it twice already as like a little haunted house ride. They strap you in and you go from room to room to room, just getting these silly, cheap jump scares to the point where the movie just repeats the same scares over and over. The actors don't really feel like they need to be there. They even want to be there. The story's not all that interesting once it really starts getting going. It feels like it rips off 2 or 3 different much better horror films to get what they gave us. So The Nun was just a gigantic disappointment for me. Should have been much better. And I don't want to see a Nun 2, even though it's probably going to get one because I think this movie made ass loads of money. The crimes of the box office. So, number 5 is The Nun. Number 4, and this totally breaks my heart to say this, is Ralph Breaks the Internet. Now, I didn't do a review on this because I actually just saw it last week. I think it was New Year's Day that I went and go see this with my family. I absolutely love Wreck-It Ralph. Wreck-It Ralph might be my favorite animated film since The Incredibles, that and the Lego Movie. But I'm not someone that watches a ton of animated films, but Wreck-It Ralph, I love. I love everything about it. It's one of my favorite animated films of all time. So obviously, big expectations for Ralph Breaks the Internet. And as soon as they started putting little PSAs out there about what they were going to do with this sequel, it slowly started to make me cringe a little bit. The title, Ralph Breaks the Internet, I didn't like that from the beginning. The concept of taking them out of the vintage, you know, throwback 80s arcade and putting them into the internet with all this modern meme stuff, I didn't like the idea of that. The trailers didn't make me laugh a whole lot, which should have lowered my expectations, but since I loved the first one so much, I still went in expecting a good time. And it's a mildly entertaining animated film, but this thing falls so short of the original. Almost every single joke they make in this movie regarding the internet feels like it's outdated by the time they even get done saying it. Like, it's making jokes that weren't funny 10 years ago. And it just feels like, why would you take Wreck-It Ralph, which the whole appeal of that movie is going back to these vintage 80s arcade games and giving us that world and sticking them in the internet with Amazon jokes and eBay jokes and, you know, YouTube jokes. There's an entire plot line where he has to make stupid clickbait videos to make money on YouTube. And obviously, since that's one of my side careers and my biggest hobby, it annoyed the fuck out of me. That entire section of the movie, I'm like, this is the side of YouTube that I fucking hate. I don't want to spend time with this. It's like talking about work when you're not at work. So Wreck-It Ralph, or Ralph Breaks the Internet, it's not a bad film. It's a mildly entertaining animated film, but such a disappointing sequel, especially the direction that they take Ralph in the third act and his story arc where they kind of revert back to making him a villain again. And it's just like, what? We resolved this at the end of the first Wreck-It Ralph. Why are you retreading territory? I'm gonna rant on Wreck-It Ralph more than I am Halloween. That's just weird. But yeah, Ralph Breaks the Internet. It's a movie I'll probably buy and watch again with my kids, and I'm still gonna enjoy it somewhat, but it's a movie that falls way short of its predecessor. So number 4 for me is Ralph Breaks the Internet. Number 3 is Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I am one of the few people out there that absolutely loved Jurassic World and still absolutely love Jurassic World. The movie felt like everybody loved it at first, and then as soon as it hit Blu-ray, everybody hated it. I don't understand that. That happens sometimes. First impressions, I guess, but I really enjoyed Jurassic World. I think it's easily the best sequel since the first one, and I don't really hate any of the other sequels. I haven't seen The Lost World in a long time, but even 3, which everybody says is a shit bomb, I still enjoy 3. This one I didn't enjoy hardly at all. Fallen Kingdom felt like it made mistake after mistake after mistake as far as what I wanted from this film. I walk in and it's the whole storyline involving animal rights just feels weird and kind of inserted and not all that entertaining. And then you get into some really stupid logic issues where, like, you know, Chris Pratt is in the T-Rex cage and it's fucking going nuts, but nobody in this boat hears it. They jump onto this boat in this huge, epic, loud-ass stunt and land, and the guards come out 3 seconds later and nobody suspects Chris Pratt and fucking Ron Howard's daughter sitting there like, hey, these guys probably just made that gigantic noise. Maybe we should shoot them. None of that. I could go on for hours. There's a lot of logic issues with this movie, but the whole plot twist that they involving this little girl I thought was silly, and it's supposed to tie back to the original film, and it just kind of falls on its face and it doesn't really go anywhere. The decision that she decides to make at the very end regarding the fate of these dinosaurs and what direction that's going to push this franchise forward for the sequels, I thought was absolutely ridiculous. The character of, what the fuck was his name? The intern guy. One of the most annoying characters I've ever seen in a movie ever. So despite mild surface value entertainment with seeing dinosaurs on screen, I was supremely disappointed in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I haven't even bought it on Blu-ray yet. Until it reaches like $10, I don't plan to, and that's rare for me. I'm a Blu-ray whore, so that alone, if you know me, should tell you a lot about my thoughts on this film. So, number 3, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Number 2, the one that you have all been waiting for. You probably thought it was going to be number 1, but it's not. So what's number 1? Number 2 is Halloween 2018. If you have been following this channel at all since October, you should know damn well what my thoughts are on this film. I've tried to explain it a million fucking ways from Sunday. I still get people that think I hate this film. I don't. I actually enjoy Halloween 2018, but it fell way short of my expectations. I have major issues with a lot of the script issues and a lot of the character issues going on, especially the ending. It's a movie that I've rewatched 3 times. I watched it twice in theaters, had the same exact thoughts walking out. I did a commentary about a week and a half ago, had the exact same thoughts and explained them as best as I possibly can. So this should be a surprise to nobody. Number 2 is Halloween 2018. This is probably the biggest movie as far as my community goes this year by a landslide. This was the movie that everybody was waiting for the past 2 years. Halloween 2018 was this gigantic event. And maybe a little bit of overhype goes into that, but they're just basic script level issues as far as bad writing, bad dialogue, and some really stupid character stuff that just annoys me to no end. I'm not going to rant any longer on Halloween 2018. I have like 5 or 6 videos that will explain in depth all of my thoughts on this film, both good and bad, but it fell way short of my expectations. Especially the treatment of the fans fell way short of my expectations. So Halloween 2018, you knew it was coming, and it's number 2. So what could be more controversial in my eyes than Halloween 2018? People are really probably scratching their heads right now. Number 1 is The Predator. Fuck! The Predator was a gigantic letdown. I was waiting for this movie for so long. I am a Shane Black fanatic. I love this guy's writing. I have loved what he's done as a director. Even Iron Man 3, which a lot of people hate, I love Iron Man 3. I saw Shane Black doing a Predator sequel, and I thought there's no fucking possible way that this is not going to be the best film since the first Predator. This is going to completely get this franchise back on track easily. There is no way it's not. Fuck, was I wrong. I don't know if it's Shane Black's fault. I don't know if it's the studio's fault. I don't know if it's a collection of the two, but somebody fucked up bad because this movie is just a gigantic, irritating, mind-numbing mess. There is still surface value entertainment to be had. There's still some pew-pew guns. There's still some blood and guts and stuff in here. In different scenes with the Predator is like escaping from a hospital and escaping from a laboratory and everything. That stuff is still cool to watch, which is why I was still mildly entertained by it. But since the movie has come out, I actually regret the review that I gave it, because I gave it the lowest rating possible as far as a numeric score to give it a seat on Netflix. If I was to do that review right now, it would get a skip it easily. Like, this is a movie that has infuriated me more and more and more since I've thought about it leaving the theaters. The ending is horrible. Fucking Predator Iron Man suit, go fuck yourself. So everything about this movie, I don't know who the fault lays with. I still completely struggle to believe that Shane Black had anything to do with this film. But maybe he did. Maybe he just had a really fucking bad day at the office. But The Predator, for what I thought this movie was going to be, I had 110% confidence in that, and what it actually ended up being, by a landslide. Regardless, all of my issues of Halloween 2018, by a landslide, this is my most disappointing film of 2018, easily. So what were your guys' most disappointing films of 2018? Tell me down below and give me some reasons, please. Don't just put 1 through 10 because those are boring to kind of cycle through. Tell me why they were disappointing for you. We're gonna have very different lists, so let's just chat about it and talk about what our expectations and what our entertainment value was walking out of these movies in 2018. Keep an eye out, guys, for the rest of these list videos. I'm gonna have the best of 2018 coming up very soon, and my top 10 most anticipated of 2019, and then we'll get back on track. We'll do Glass, we'll do some of the Unbreakable and Split reviews, and I'm doing full-on Patreon galore for the next month or two. So it's gonna be a lot of varying reviews. I got Fright Night, I've got High Tension, I got a lot of really good picks from my patrons, so look forward to all of that, guys. Please like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. If you guys want to check down in the video description below for social media links, you got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, my Spreadshirt store for Cody Leach merchandise like t-shirts and other memorabilia that is designed by the great Woody Bowen. And you have my Patreon page, which is a great way to give back to this channel, help this channel grow, and get cool exclusive content for your eyes only if you decide to become a patron. So check all that out, guys. And if you want to check out some more of my videos, including the rest of the list that I've already dropped, you can check those out by clicking right over here.